Tommy, I got to ask you the big picture question. Just reading this bombshell reporting from Andrew Callahan and Karen Guregian in the Boston Herald, how does this reflect on Bill? So much of it is about Matt Patricia, about Joe Judge, about Mac Jones. But as Bill told us at the beginning of the season, it all comes back to him.
Absolutely, and I think it reflects poorly on the decision. And I think what's great about this story is there's nothing necessarily in it aside from the quotes that are applied, which are appreciated and worthwhile. But we chronicled all this as the season went on because it's in one chronological, well laid out story that explains to you the agitations that existed. And why does it matter? That I think is what's important too, because I think there's probably plenty of people like, okay, well, bad year, bad decision, Bill O'Brien's here, that's what matters. What I believe is relevant is how much goodwill was forfeited by having a wasted year in deciding to put two people in positions of power and leadership when they were ill-suited. You forfeited the goodwill of your players and to a degree the trust of your players. And now there's a regaining period that goes back on. So to me, this well illustrated how much advantage Bill took of his situation and doing whatever the hell he wanted to in terms of the hiring and saying, deal with it.
So the situation with the player that matters most, I think, in the eyes of most, is Mac Jones. And I remember talking to you, Tom, I think on a midday hit a few weeks ago, month plus ago now, and you questioned whether Mac, with his actions, could be making an enemy, quote unquote, of the head coach. Does that, because I think the relationship with Bill O'Brien will probably be fine. You know, they had that little getting to know at Alabama, and now it's a fresh start, all of that. What's the relationship between Mac Jones and Bill Belichick heading into year 3?
Given the moves that Bill has made in this offseason, it's an acknowledgement, clearly, that he made a mistake, and he's getting a professional in there to work with the young quarterback. That, to me, is him saying, look, maybe he was upstairs stomping his feet around in his bedroom and slamming doors, but I get it. I'm going to deal with it. We'll move forward. If I see any more of this crap next year, I'll know it's a bigger problem. What I think they need to do is both wipe the slate clean, because Matt trusted Bill. He said it all season long, how much he respected Bill, how much he trusted Bill. He even went overboard in praising the intellect and ability of Matt Patricia. Even though he knew that Matt Patricia was doing him no personal development favors, he still did respect the way Matt Patricia was trying to do the job. So he waited a long time, Mac Jones did, before he flipped out. A long time.
Yep. And
I think that Bill will probably look at it and go, you know what, I guess maybe in hindsight, same way. But we do know Bill can hold a grudge, so it remains to be seen.
Suffice to say, yeah, Bill can hold a grudge or two, Tommy. Had you heard, though, and now with this piece and some other sources leaking out that Joe Judge was not very well liked by anyone in the building, had you heard that at all during the course of the season, or is this now all just sort of coming to bear? Because it seems like if that many people were frosted or off-put by him, that we would have heard about it sooner than this.
I think that over the course of time I've alluded to and spoken about the agitations of people Judge. So I didn't have the Mac didn't like him at all. Mm-hmm. But I remember relating here on this station previously how when Joe Judge was wide receivers coach in 2019, it eventually erupted during a practice in which one player looked at him and said, you don't know what you're doing. You don't know what you're talking about. And I'd also mentioned, I think that, folks within the league had said, look, Joe is very convincing in letting you know that he's got it. He's got it locked down. He is all set, and he understands what he's doing. And then you turn around and it's not really done the way that you hoped it was going to be done. So I don't think that, look, did we know it? No. Could we tell? Yeah. It's not like they spent a lot of time together. And just the body language and facial expressions and dismissiveness shown really announced that they weren't getting along great. But again, this story, I don't want to say, hey, we knew this all along. This story does a good job of laying out just how agitated they were in specific instances.
There's definitely seems to be a lot of validation there to a lot of the things we've talked about on our station, talked to you about, talked to Andrew Callahan about, talked to other guys who are down there every day during the season. Andrew and Curran right in this. Around early October, it seems like Joe Judge was starting to be phased out of the coaching duties that he had before that. And then months later on the morning show, they talked to Bill Belichick about making a change at offensive coordinator. And he said something along the lines of, can't make any big changes at this time or something along the lines of that. Do you think that, considering that Bill started the ball rolling on this around this time last year, did he react quickly enough to what was kind of just an ongoing failure in this situation? Did he respond quickly enough?
I don't think that there was any other levers to pull or buttons to push. There was nothing you could do. Once you spent the entire offseason implementing a new offense with a new language with people who had never really even taught offense before, and they were so far behind in their installation, as was well articulated too in the story, they were so far behind that they weren't even getting to things. And Bill Belichick was telling us, might take weeks, might take months, never know. They were telling us during the end of training camp that this is going to take a long time. There was nowhere to pivot, Mego. There was nothing else they could do except wait until the end of the season, hope it gets better here and there, catch a break, have Marcus Jones return a kick, have Kyle Duggar score a touchdown or two, and maybe we get in the playoffs. You never know. But I think that probably by midseason or towards the end of the season, it's like, well, we can't do this again. This was a mistake. Hopefully we can get Billy O, which is, again, they didn't bring anybody else in other than Billy O, who would conceivably be the repairman for the offense. So you start to wonder, and I was speaking to Julian Edelman's dad, Frank, today, who he is a card-carrying Bill guy. And we still talk all the time about the Patriots. He's like, I think it was Billy O all the time. And he knew he was going to get him. So they just kind of mailed it in on the year. Not mailed it in, but, And I still look at that and I'm like, maybe.
Tom, we actually had a caller that brought that up within the last hour that they knew.
Maybe it was Mr. Edelman.
Maybe it was Mr. Edelman. It was not Frank on the screen.
What did it sound like?
It didn't sound like Frank. But he brought up that idea that Matt Patricia was just the placeholder, that they knew they were getting Billy O'Brien, but they couldn't take him from Saban, blah, blah, blah. So my question or pushback on that would be, is Matt Patricia becoming the fall guy? Because I see the update out of the Shrine Bowl that Joe Judge is going to be there in a supervising role, and Matt Patricia is nowhere to be named. And I know you've alluded to the possibility that maybe he may not have a role with the organization. Is he the scapegoat, the fall guy? How's it playing out for Matt Patricia?
It does seem to be shaping up that way. Is he without a position or a place here through his own decision, or because the Patriots are shunting him to the side and saying, boy, it doesn't seem like we have anything here for you, son? I would highly doubt the latter. The Krafts love him. Belichick loves him. He just got absolutely riddled, figuratively, by bullets for the last 5 months. You better find a job for the guy if he wants to stay. On the other hand, he might be like, I need a year off. So I wouldn't be surprised if he's back. I wouldn't be surprised if he's not back. But it's still January 25th, so a lot can happen in the next couple of months. But, yeah, he does look like the fall guy in many ways for it. If it had worked, if it had looked terrific, well, maybe Bill O'Brien's still at Alabama, and they would have said, well, look at this wonderkid we have on offense, this bearded genius, Matt Patricia. Who knew? But it didn't.
No, it didn't. No, this is officially a lost season, Tom. And in reading this piece and just looking back at the season on the whole and Belichick saying, well, if things go south, you can blame me, I think that this makes Matt Patricia a tragic figure, if anything else. Like he's the sad guy left behind in all this. And I can't help but wonder that if he's not going to remain with the organization, and I kind of hope he does in that Ernie Adams capacity, but if he's not to remain with the organization, could it be he who says, you know what, actually, this sucked, and I feel terrible, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to command the respect in the building that I should, given what I got put through last season? Because, I mean, you probably read it in the comments sections. You heard it down at the stadium. He was the punchline of the season, and it's kind of a shame.
Yeah, I noticed that too. I mean, yes.
Yeah.
We've been doing that for months.
It's awful.
And in a way, it's a shame, Fitzy. Yes, I do feel badly for him. And I said that oodles of times during the season. Bill put him in a bad spot. We were saying this after Matt came back and started getting sacked routinely, and they couldn't score touchdowns. And it was post Bailey Zappi when it was the high end, those were high times for Matt and Bailey. But after that, you looked at it and said, this isn't getting any better. It's getting worse. I kind of feel bad for the guy, but he also could have said, I can't do that, Bill. So I do feel badly for the guy. And I hope that he has a place here. And I totally agree. And that's what I was just saying as well. Mm-hmm. He might decide, I don't want to work there. But he is beloved. Mayo loves him. Belichick, he's attached himself to Belichick's side like a tick, but he likes him too. The Crafts like him. He's good at making people like him. So I don't feel that bad for Matt overall. I mean, he ran the Lions into the ground. He didn't really call the greatest defenses in 2017 in the playoffs. He almost lost to Blake Bortles, and then he did lose to Nick Foles. So there's a point at which I'm like, okay, that sucked for him. Bill set him up to fail, but he's still okay. Better off than most of the populace.
He's got some money in the bank.
Yeah.
All right. Let's leave it on that note. That's a positive note. He's a very well-loved tick.
Fun. We could do more. Why don't
I do have one more for you, Tom. Real quick, since
I get all the time in the world.
Well, we'll have you Sunday. Don't give away all the gold.
Yeah, save something for Sunday.
Save something for Sunday
really
at
quick,
11.
though, I am curious because with Bill O'Brien coming in, and part of this piece from the Herald details them trying to put in the McVay, the Shanahan running concepts and everything. Does any of that carry over with O'Brien, or is that just the last that we're going to see of that, knowing that Bill is, a little bit taken with that system?
That's a little bit of the mess that you look at, when you walk back into the house after you have the fun. The dog pooped. Oh, well, I guess we had a good time, but we have to clean that up. What are we going to do about that mess? I mean, you spent an inordinate amount of time installing an offense, and you're good, smart football people, so I'm sure that there was a lot of upside to trying to install it. You just had plumbers trying to put together a house. No offense to either trade. So as a result, is there merit to narrower splits and trying to run some bootleg action off of stretch runs? Yeah, sure. And I'm sure they know it better than we do. But it's the best thing to go back to what Mac and Bill O'Brien are comfortable running. That remains to be seen. But that's why there are remnants, and that's why this story is relevant. There are remnants of damage done by the 2022 decisions. And what will the damage going forward be?
What will it be? All right, Tommy, thanks for joining us. We got to go pay some bills. We love you. We'll see you next week.